Hey folks, Grandison Shines here with Seduire International, and thank you very much for watching this video. I'm excited to talk to you today and answer the question, does your organization need a culture change or a culture evolution, as we like to call it here at Seduire International? Culture evolution because the word evolution gives forward thought to growth and change and maturation, when change initially comes with the putting up the guards and some resistance. So we like to utilize the word culture evolution, but if you're looking up the actual process, you look like change management or culture change, those types of keywords, and you can find a plethora of information. Today I'm going to be giving you 5 things you need to know about a culture change before you initiate it. Again, before you initiate a culture change. There are some times in organizations, they just launch these initiatives and they fizzle out quickly because they're not accurately planned, or they might not even be accurately strategized from the beginning. And that's imperative, especially when you're going to take on this massive change or culture evolution within the organization. There needs to be certain information gathered and certain things thought about before you pull the trigger to launch this implementation or this initiative within your organization. We'll be talking about that. But before we get into the conversation, do me a favor, go to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/Seduire International, and click the subscribe button, click on the bell to make sure you also get the notifications. We upload new videos weekly, and we're uploading this video as well as when you see it. You may see it on different social media, but it will definitely be on YouTube, their channel. You can see a plethora of other videos regarding also our 4 main competencies here at Seduire International, which is communication. We say that is the main one, leadership, accountability, and DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. We teach that all of those are communication as far as the latter 3. All right, so let's get into our meat of the conversation today. Today, we're going to be talking about, again, 5 things you need to know before launching your change initiative in your organization or your cultural change, right? But let's talk about 3 signs that you need to know before, that will give you the whole idea to spark this initiative for culture change. These signs are imperative because, again, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle when you initiate this particular culture change. And we want to make sure that you're poised and that you know the information. So here are 3 signs you need to know in order for a culture change. 1, if you have a high turnover rate, okay? Especially at the higher levels of the organization, meaning that if you have 6 levels within your organization, right? 6 management levels in the organization. If you have high turnover rate from the midpoint on, so 3 and on, then you need to really consider a culture change. There's people at the process level, people that are client facing, people that are in the warehouse, whatever. They may leave your organization for a closer location that is going to pay them a quarter more per hour. Okay, those kind of nuances are challenging in and of itself. But when you have director people at the director level and higher that are consistently leaving, you are losing good people within your organization. You're losing people that can add to the organization in terms of creativity and innovation. You're losing good leaders. And if you are losing good leaders, then guess what? You're stifling the growth of your organization. You'll always have to find new people to replace them. And there's a better way to do to encompass this opportunity is to just change the culture of the organization, how you move forward in some areas. Okay, accountability being one of them. We work with a lot of organizations on accountability, this accountability culture, and how to make it work for their organization. But that's something that has to be permeated throughout the whole entire organization. But if you have high turnover at the director level and above, then you definitely need to consider a culture change. That's one thing. The second thing is this. Accountability is low. People are pointing the finger, or or low or inoperable within the organization. People pointing the finger, blaming each other, making the mistakes and not owning up to those mistakes, those types of things. Organizational accountability and KPIs, team level accountability and individual accountability. If that is low, then you definitely need to consider a culture change. And that's going to be imperative for your organization to grow and to continue to have change in the right direction and nuanced in the right way. That is an extremely important opportunity for your organization growth. The third sign you should look for is impenetrable silos in the organization. There are times when you have these daughter or son organizations, parent organizations, right? And the corporate's there. And if you have these impenetrable silos at every level of the organization, people who are new can't get into the clique because they think differently and they're more outspoken. People at the corporate level can't break through the red tape, and or you can't get things done at the corporate level. Can't move fast enough, or your message is stifled. You have these silos. Unless you're in the clique, you're not going to get listened to. Well, that needs to change, and and unfortunately at times that may mean a shuffling of people. But because of our previous endeavor with COVID, a lot of this has broken up. But now people are utilizing this through technology. So when you have cliquish people at the corporate level, especially in the workplace environment, a location environment, when you break up the silos, that is one opportunity to do that. So COVID gave us that opportunity. But if you still have that going on and you still have a collective environment for your employees and you have silos that are being challenged or are challenging to the people who are actually trying to bring creativity, innovation, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, increasing processes and do whatever, if they're stifling the organization, you have a huge problem. Any one of these in and of itself is daunting. It's a challenge. But to have all three of these, there are a myriad of other ones as well. And that's why it's good to have outside eyes looking in. When we go into an organization and we're observing from outside, looking in, we're at the location, but I say outside, we're not employed with them. We're observing, we're talking to them, we're listening, we're reading between the lines, we're asking pertinent questions that will give us the information that we need, and we can tell whether that's BS or whether it's true and authentic, right? So we understand that kind of that information. So before we consult with the organization, these are important opportunities for us to see. One good way to find out the information, I'm going to give you this one. One good way to find out is to do an anonymous survey. That's one way you can find out initially what people think about the culture. And now, if you think about a culture change, if you haven't strategically put this in place, then you've created a culture by default. Okay? If you haven't intentionally and purposely put a culture in place, then you have one by default. And that could be a very, very negative thing. Well, again, we're going to talk about some of those nuances, but we're definitely, I give you some information at the end of the video where how we can have that conversation, see if you're ready for that. All right. So now let's get into the heart of the conversation. 5 things you need before a culture change or a culture evolution. And these 5 things are imperative. I can't express the importance of having these 5 things in place before you're pulling the trigger. It is going to be, again, a daunting task. It's going to be an uphill battle in some cases. And that's why these usually go minimum a year for our endeavors with the clients that we have. Minimum a year. We start off with 6 months, see if we need to go another 6 months. But we always make the promise, and this is a big claim, a bold claim that we make. And this has always been the case for us. We will not let our client fail. We won't. We've built a reputation on success when launching these, and we will continue to have success. If the plan is followed, everything is cohesive at the beginning, and there's cohesive opportunity to work as we go through this, then you will not fail. You will evolve to a new culture no matter how many levels you have in the organization and no matter how widespread the organization is, because we know how to do this strategically. All right, so what's the first thing that you need to do? First of all, you need to have authentic readiness to change. At the highest level of the organization, highest level first level, whoever that key stakeholder is, CEO, Mr. President, whoever you are, we need to have authentic readiness there. Why? Because everyone else are the subordinates to this person, of course, and it's all about filtering down that information. The main job of that key stakeholder is to do what? It is to get buy-in from one level down. That's the main thing that this person has to do. Now, if you have a board of executives or a board of directors that you have, great. Converse with them. But it needs to be authentic readiness to change. And there are tools that you can utilize, anonymous surveys and other tools that you can utilize within the organization to help you get to that position where you're ready to change. Authentic readiness to change. And then fact-based readiness to change. So once you gather that information, the data, statistics in the organization, then you can understand some of that information a lot better, or how people feel a lot better within the organization, what their thought process is, and then you can weave your way through the mindset in order to have true culture change. But you have to have authentic readiness to change first. There's no other way to do that. The second thing you need is buy-in from key stakeholders, right? Now key stakeholders, plural. Now this is where the top brass of the organization has to filter that down throughout the other C-level execs, the other C-suites in the organization. Why? Because they are horizontal peers within the organization. One may be over sales, one may be over marketing, one may be over finance, one may be over technology, one may be over R&D. And you need to have buy-in from all those people, because their job, their main job, is to do what? Get the buy-in from their first level subordinates as well, so they can continue to spread this information. That's how it trickles down throughout the organization. It has to be very, very strategic. But if you do not have buy-in, you will have resistance. I'll say that again. If you do not have buy-in, you will have resistance. And that is a strong deterrent to a successful change evolution or change initiative. You have to have buy-in. And there are times, as I said earlier, you may have to shuffle some people around. You may have to move some people out of the way, or some people are going to give you the peace sign, they're going to move themselves out of the way. All well and good. It usually happens. But that's okay. If you are ready to change and you know you need to change, some people may have to move out of the way. And this is where the silos can be broken up. Very good opportunity in order to do that as well. So making sure you have key buy-in. Here's another thing you need. This picture says it all for me. It's a little funny picture. I put it here because it's a certain little nuance. You see everyone smiling. Their hair's tilted to the side. They have on the same shirt. Well, what's the one thing here? Consistency. Even the dog is smiling. Even he has a little tilt to his head, right? Consistency. This is one of the pillars that will either make or break the initiative. Consistence. You have to have the consistency in delivery and consistency in the message. And there has to be consistency throughout the whole entire thing, because it takes such a strong thought process and energy to utilize the tools, the tool sets, and communication has to be consistent. Communication is also the one thing that is encompassed over this whole entire initiative. And there are many times, actually 98% of the time, if the organization is not good, they're not good at communicating, we will do a whole communication opportunity or training and coaching first before we do the initiative, because communication is interwoven throughout the whole entire initiative. And if you don't know how to communicate, this will make it fail. Then once you are understanding with communication, how to utilize that tool set, that skill set, tool set, however you want to call it, then you have to be consistent. The message and the delivery has to be consistent. I cannot say this enough. And in fact, if we ever work together, you'll hear me say this a myriad of times in the actual initiative. I'm going to keep reminding you to be consistent, persistent. Whoever your internal champion is, your liaison, but we're going to remind them consistency, persistency, which is the next one. Making sure that you also have persistency going on. Got to be persistent. Got to break through the walls. Got to break through the old way of thinking and get to a new way of thinking. Got to evolve. And that takes time. Time is a big factor there. But you have to be persistent and also mitigate the resistance that's going to come about in the organization. This is something that we do very well, but you have to, it's up to the organization. It's incumbent upon the organization to master this particular trait as a leader and be persistent. It's going to take effort, energy. It's going to take thought process. It's going to take strategy. It's going to take conversations. It's going to take managing of emotions. It's going to take self-control over your mind, will, imagination, emotions, and intellect. I mean, you're going to have to really be persistent in order to maintain and to drive forward. This is something that needs to be done. Got to break through the old way of thinking. Have to. It's imperative. It's paramount as you break through the old way of thinking. The only way to do that, the only way to really get the authentic change and transformation is to be consistent and also persistent as well. Finally, we come to point number 5. And here's where you have to be strategic. Have to understand and answer the questions who, what, why, where, when, how via a communication plan with a proven process and launching in success. This is a must. This is a must. So now that you have buy-in, you have the consistency, we have that talk, and you're saying yeah, and you're going to be authentically ready to change. Yeah, okay, cool. Now we have those other 4. Then we start scribing out how we're going to do this. Again, before we launch it out, we have a template that we utilize. That template alone is about 13 different pages, just in and of itself, with all the information that goes into it at different levels of the organization. Even if we're talking about internal organization, but also the culture also is outside the organization, as well as your reputation and brand. People, your customers see you a certain way, and how you interact with them may need to change too. So understanding that you need a strong, sound communication plan, not the one you're going to get from your marketing department about how you're going to launch your marketing campaign. No, this is the one that's going to have the key level stakeholders with your organizational chart, with the hierarchy and everything else already outlined, already in the who the people are and how that's going to trickle down throughout your organization, because you need to go through all levels of the organization, the business, the operations and the process level, and utilizing, of course, there's people horizontally and vertically in the organization, and you also need them in order to have those processes and the systems, the technological systems that you utilize in the business. All of these are tool sets that you can utilize for successfully launching a change initiative. All right, there you have it. Those are the 5 things that you need before you actually launch a change initiative. So answering the question, is my organization poised for a culture change or cultural evolution? Now, here's the final step for you to do. If you have thought about this video, you heard the information, you want to move forward, just have a conversation, send an email to info@seduireintl.com, and in the subject line put culture change conversation, okay, or culture evolution conversation, either one. It'll come to the right person, and we'll make sure that we talk together. We'll talk before. The only thing you're investing now is your time, so it's not going to cost you anything to chat with us, but it is a conversation worth having if you feel that your organization is poised for a culture change. All right, Grandison Shine signing out, folks. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until next time, talk to you later. Bye.